And it is lunch then on day one of this first test between India and New Zealand at Kanpur. 82 for 1 is where India stand after winning the toss. So let's look back at that session, which had Shubman Gill, some delightful stroke play, and Kyle Jamieson with a spell to remember on ESPN Cricket for Match Day with Wasim Jaffer and Daniel Vittori. Gee, I still don't know why they call it lunch in India when nobody has lunch in India at 11:30, but that's just how we roll in Test match cricket. Anyway, India happy with that, Wasim? 82 for 1 at lunch?
I think they'll take it very happily. First session holds very important for any team that bats first. I mean, if you,
Yeah.
as long, even if you score 60, 70 or whatever and not lose more
Hmm.
than one wicket, I think you will be happy and take that. Because rest of the session, I mean, that is going to get easier and easier. So I think India played brilliantly. Mayank would be a little bit, unhappy that uh, he didn't score runs, obviously, but I think Shubman Gill was outstanding and Pujara just being Pujara.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it. Pujara being Pujara. We'll come to that Mayank Agarwal dismissal in just a bit, but we were all wondering what we'll see of Kyle Jamieson in conditions that are alien to him. Dan, I'm sure you liked what you saw. Right,
I
Dan?
think Indian viewers hadn't seen much of him back home. He's obviously big and tall, but it's the lengths that he hits, and he has the ability to create some indecision. And I think the thing about Cole is he's not afraid to set bowlers up. So he even though he has the skills, there's a fair bit of intuition and how to set a particular batsman up, and he's quite methodical about how he does it. But he's also not afraid to take risks, and you probably don't always see that from an opening bowler who's been as successful as he's been and as economical, as well as the strike rate. That he's prepared to try things, and I think in these conditions. He has to because this is not not his favourite wicket that he's bowled on in Test cricket so far, but he's produced the same results as any other wicket so far.
Tell me, Wasim, as a batter, looking at that spell from Jamieson, what's the biggest obstacle or challenge that he possesses?
I think he swung more than Team Saudi. He swung the ball more, and obviously he's got a little bit more speed than Saudi. And I think he pitched the ball up compared to Saudi, and he posed a lot of problems to Mayank. Mayank was a little bit uncomfortable. So I think when somebody bowls with that height and bowls that full and in good speed, he's going to pose a lot of trouble. And that's what exactly he did. He kept challenging the batsman with the
Hmm.
outside edges, and that was a very good spell. That was very good spell of fast bowling in those conditions.
Hmm. Could Mayank have done anything at all, Wasim, about that wicket ball? Do you think after looking at that replay, or he could have left it, or is that not really something you can blame him for?
I think he could have left it. I mean, he would have been
Hmm.
unhappy that he played. I mean, he was playing and missing quite a few balls. He has a tendency of staying a little bit on the back foot. Outswingers does pose him a little bit of problem. He gets opened up. He gets chest on quite a lot, and that is something he needs to work on his game, especially the conditions where there's a lateral movement, and that's exactly what happened in those small innings. He didn't look very comfortable against Jamieson, and he was obviously found that edge. So he would be unhappy that he played at those balls which he should have left it alone.
Yeah, take me through the setup, Dan. You talk about him being, brave enough to want to set batters up even early in his Test career, and how he set that wicket up almost. Dan, yeah.
I mean, if you've been critical, I said if you've been critical, you could say that he slid one down leg, he had one wide of the off stump, and then he bowled a bouncer, and then he bowled the perfect ball to follow all those up. So, in a lot of ways, he probably kept Mayank on off guard, sorry, and so Mayank was a little tentative exactly what was coming, and you add that to the fact that he's 6'8", that he bowls with good pace and has the ability to swing the ball. Means it means opening batsman is going to be tentative, and that's why he has been so successful in New Zealand and English conditions. And the thing that everyone wanted to sit back and wait to judge him was how he would perform in subcontinent conditions, and it's been very impressive in his first. It's going to get more and more difficult as the tour goes on or on this wicket. But I think what will be in his favour is his ability to hit that length. And if the wicket does go up and down a little bit, then he can stay and play. So it won't all be about swing bowling or seam bowling. He can be a
Yeah.
consistent bowler and attack the stumps.
I was listening to two fast bowlers on commentary, Dominic Cork and Ajit Agarkar, both saying that the release point from where he releases the ball tends to make the batter feel, Wasim, that it's always coming in. And then when he gets it to just hold a little bit or move away, that becomes almost unplayable. Tell me, as a batter, whether that is in play and your perspective on that?
It does. It does. I mean,
Hmm.
Tim Southey does that very often. He keeps changing those angles. He keep bowling those outswingers, and then suddenly he'll go wide and keep the ball straight. And that's exactly how we got Rohit Sharma out in that World Test Championship final. So that poses a lot of problems. Even Jamieson are pretty much similar. So if you change a little bit of angle, it does create a little bit of problem when the ball goes away, and then you keep playing for the ball that is going away, and then anything that keeps goes straight, it does put doubts in your mind. So the release point does make you think a little bit as a batter.
So, if you are to give, say, one important tip to a top order batter when you're playing Jamison now, what would it be? What do you watch out for with the sort of bowling he's shown in the first session? Wasim?
I think you need to be very sure, Ronak, about your off stump, which balls to play, obviously, and which balls to leave. That is a very, very crucial point. Uh, as long as you're sure of your off stump and you know the wicket at Kanpur, it's not going to come at your chest high or maybe head high. Odd bouncer is okay, but I think you're not going to get out of the short balls. So you need to worry about the ball which is fuller. Uh, when the ball is hard and new, I think that's exactly the length Jamieson and Saudi wants to bowl and get you out LBW or caught behind or in the slip. That is the only thing. Uh, Shubman Gill, they referred the decision, and he was lucky because he got that edge. But that's the length you are looking for. That is the length you want to avoid because it's keeping low, and LBW ball does come into play.
All right. Shubman Gill, full of stroke play in that. Dan Vittori would have been fun to watch.
Particularly against spin. I think that's what we're all waiting for him to see if he get through those early stages of Jameson and Southey, and then how he'd look to play. And I think he looked so comfortable and confident. He understood what the wicket was going to do pretty early on, and once he got a read of that, he was able to play his shots. And they're really just an adjustment to what was bowled to him. They weren't. He wasn't trying too much. And I thought the way that he played AJ's Patel in particular just signalled how difficult it is at times for New Zealand spin bowls or any to come up against these quality players on these types of surfaces.
What's the best part about Shubman Gill's innings for you, Wasim? Was it his intent against the spinners?
I think definitely his intent, and that's how he started his Test cricket as well. Even in Australia, in conditions which is little difficult for him as a youngster, and he backs his strength to keep playing his shots, and that's his strength. And the most important thing, he didn't let Ejaz Patel settle into a good line and length because Ejaz Patel plays a very important role. So he's put him on the back foot straight away, coming out, hitting him over the long off and hitting boundaries. So that is a very good way to start the first session. And I think he holds a lot of importance. And even in the later half, Shreyas Iyer, he's going to be the same. This new generation, they back their strength of playing shots. So we are going to see the similar pattern between Shubman Gill and even Shreyas Iyer.
Yeah, well, let's hope we see the two of them together. Gill did ride his luck a little, though. There was a review where the appeal wasn't as vociferous for, and then we saw later on that it's a review that perhaps New Zealand could have taken. Dan, now, is that one of those you could say, yeah, it didn't look out at the time, so we let it go? Or does Tom Blundell playing his first test in India after the BJ Watling era have a bigger role to play now?
These situations are so difficult. I think we put so much onus on a captain or a wicketkeeper to make such an important decision. Commentators laud captains who store their reviews away for the back end and get them right, and they get them wrong. So I just think this is one of these ones. It's a 50-50, and Kane and the team will move on. And I think you have to worrying about those things too often.
Assessment of how New Zealand spinners bowled in that session, Dan?
Well, AJ Patel will be asking, where's those pitches that they played England on? Because this is not, I mean, Axar Patel averaging under 7 with the ball or something ridiculous like this. And then the first time he turns up to India after watching that, he has to go and play at Kanpur on one of the flatter wickets I think I've seen in a long time. So I think there'll be a frustration there that he hasn't been able to bowl on one of those wickets. But um, I think if he's honest, he wasn't at his best. I haven't seen Ajaz that inconsistent with his lengths, and whether he was worried about Shubman Gill using his feet or using his boundaries just to change the length. His lengths weren't as good as they were, and the Test match like we discussed, his strengths are like Jadeja, that he hits a length and he asks questions of the batsman the whole time. So I think he'll move on pretty quickly from that first session in India. Pretty excited to be bowling against in a Test match against India, and I think it'll be a quick learn from him, and you'll see him back to his best after the lunch session.
Now, Wasim Jaffer has played so much cricket on Indian soil. He knows everything about Indian pitches. He was getting runs on these surfaces as recently as last year. So let me ask him now, after just one session, what impressions we can make of this pitch. Wasim, there was one ball, end of the seventh over, from Ajaz Patel that suddenly had Shubman Gill hunching to try and stop it because it was so low. So what does that tell us?
I think it does tell us that batting is going to get difficult and difficult later on, from day two. India would definitely, Ronak, I would say that they would want to bat only once in this Test match, and I think anything above 350, 400, New Zealand will struggle definitely with three quality spinners and even the fast bowlers who can use reverse swing, quite well. It's going to get hard if India goes on and gets 350 plus score. It's going to be hard for New
Yeah.
Zealand.
Yeah, even there was one nick even of Mayank of Team Saudi, and they just went all along the ground. Now, what do you tell yourself as a bowling team on what you need to get right? You have to stay in the game because if India get 400, like Wasim said, you think that'll be it.
There's also that ball from Rachin Ravindra which spun, so that would be something that those three Indian spinners will be looking at, because I mean, their strength is how consistent they are, and if they can land in those areas and the pitch does the things that people start to think it will do, then they're going to be very difficult. So New Zealand does need to restrict India for under 300, and I think they can. I think the way that Kane uses bowlers and utilises who's actually bowling well will be the key, and the fact that they have five strike bowlers, I think they'll view it that way, that they can keep rotating them, keep adjusting to who's bowling well, and keeping the Indian batsmen on guard, because that's all they can really hope for, is that they keep putting pressure on through economy, and that's what Kane likes to do. I think if you look through all his captaincy, he likes to ride the bowlers who are not only taking wickets but also economical, and that's why Neil Wagner's been such a strength for New Zealand cricket, is that it's 30 or 40 overs at an economy of 2, and that just builds up so much pressure. So look for Kane to try and find that angle with his captaincy through these next two sessions.
Interesting. Let's pick up the chat at T, shall we? Dan Vettori, Wasim Jaffer, thank you very much. That was our wrap of the first session of play on ESPN Cricket for Matchday. Excellent from Kyle Jamieson and Shubman Gill. But you think this pitch is going to be spoken about a lot more now as this test match goes on. It's always the case when test cricket returns to India. Join us at tea time.